I guess you will have seen them around because they're standing actually the whole time at the stand of Willem van Zoetendaal, because they had a very nice idea to have a changing exhibition within the fair. We will go into that deeper. To give you an idea of where the conversation is leading, I want to go with you into the scene stuff. So some of you who are known with the works maybe think like, oh, we know this, but some of you might interest. And then we go slowly more into the unseen parts, more the backstage, what keeps them busy, what inspires them, and what is on the shelf we don't yet know, or only we in this room will know later. So very welcome, Thijs and Ruben.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I think we can start with the first slide upstairs, please.
Hello.
So here we are.
Yeah, hello.
Hello.
Thank you. I think you introduced us well enough.
Well, I can do some more background information, as that's obliged to do. They studied together in Utrecht, photography at the Utrecht Art School, but then they moved to part ways. Thijs went to London to study a Master of Fine Arts at the Central St. Martin's Academy, and Ruben went to this place of Beijing to study at the Central Academy of Fine Arts there. So that's a very special collaboration, starting at one little country called the Netherlands, and then heading off, but still keep collaborating. So I hope to dig into that.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's still going pretty well. I mean, we worked 2 years in Amsterdam before we did the masters, and nowadays the collaboration is more like we go to one place to photograph together, or Skype, and is a really nice tool in this as well.
Works pretty well, yeah.
So yeah, we keep on running.
Very nice. Can you just, because we're starting here now with an almost live photograph that's taken just a few hours ago.
An empty booth. Yeah, no people.
No people.
This is how well it's going.
But maybe just like you can tell the quick ideas behind this extraordinary obligation you now have to be present at any hour there.
Yeah, except from now. Yeah, we're now allowed to walk out of the booth. But we started working with Willem van Zoetendaal about 2 years ago, and it's always been a really nice collaboration where we come up with ideas, and the same way that we work together, we just ping pong with ideas and with plans we have.
Have a drink from time to time,
and
make a joke, and then think, oh yeah, it's actually a good idea, and then
and that kind of works with Willem as well. And he was going to take a booth at Unseen. And then he asked us, I want you to have the whole booth and do something interesting with it.
So we thought like we don't want to make this small museum. I mean, it's just for a viewer, I think, for this kind of fair, it's hard to see 50 museums in one day. So we were joking around a bit of what are the other possibilities of using this kind of booth.
And then something like, you want to say something? Or you just want to point at the mic?
No, I'm more like worried if it's all good, understandable. But I think it is, yeah?
It is.
Wonderful.
Good. I think we started playing, as Ruben said, very often we just make a joke. We play around a bit, and then suddenly you realize, oh, maybe that's a good idea. And because we work together, we are not too afraid to fail in a way, because if we fail, at least we had a good time. And the idea was here that we just build a storage unit. My father was a very good help in it. And we built this, what is it, back wall? Like this wall with all these little holes in it. And we just make a new exhibition every day. And we rehang works. And it's a bit more our studio, where people walk in and we talk with them, rather than a static gallery art fair show.
Well, and you're talking about that it's kind of having fun, playing around, having jokes, which I think is very much also a part of your work. But I'm always amazed about that it's jokey, but it's always like touching very serious issues within photography, or like crossing the boundaries or messing up the medium, but it has this serious note. So what's the serious note here behind?
I think how it normally works with us is that we do things and then we found out later what it means. And we're doing this now. So
very often it works like that. I mean, this is for us as well. It's a test. It's a new thing to do. So just what Thijs said. I mean, if it fails, if it completely doesn't work, well, you know, that's then
we
just
learned
the case.
something.
But we had fun.
But do you also sell in that way, or is it like?
Well, actually, we are more like giving small talks with everybody who want to know a bit
and then
more about
when they
work.
become too interested, we just nod at Willem, and then Willem comes in with a price list and a very serious voice, and he said that's so much, and then they believe him, and then some people buy it. Yeah, I think that's how it works.
Because in this arrangement, because I think you're also very different in how you present the works. Sometimes you frame, sometimes it's glued with glue thing. Did you have that in your mind, like it's still a fair, so it's not a studio, so we have actually to sell? Or is Willem the consciousness behind?
No, it would be good, of course, to sell, because London, as you know, is a very cheap place, and coming from Beijing to here, like, things cost money, so it's good to sell something every now and then. But yeah,
we don't really see it as our job in some kind of way. We're not salesmen. It's the statement you make with a book or with the prints is like the job we have, or the work we do, and it's like another. You know, you have the gallery owner's job is his job, and we work with him.
Of course, but it's more like we are at a fair and we are all enjoying photography, and it's a fair with a festival flair, and sometimes we tend to forget that it's also about selling and buying.
Well, that's part where the joke came from. Yeah.
Interested, like, how is this present also in your?
Well, that comes kind of from this. If you go into a pound shop or like any cheap shops, you have these packboards where you have batteries hanging from there, all objects, and then that's where that idea thing comes from. And to what I think you see at a fair sometimes is that it's being presented as a museum show, but at the same time they're very much objects that need to get off the wall again and be sold. So we're using it now as objects that we just move around, and we make things with them rather than pretend to be a museum.
And they can also move outside the booth when they're sold.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be wonderful. Let's move on to one of your, the book project with which you got nominated a lot, and I think was one of your kick-ins internationally. Can I say that? Empty Bottles.
Yes, you can.
Okay, thank you. Maybe you want to just briefly, for the people in the room who are not aware of that work, tell the first funny idea and then the serious note.
Well, basically, we went to China with a lot of, we read a lot of papers and documentation stuff to prepare. But we didn't went there with a clear idea what to photograph. So the first couple of weeks when we were there, we photographed a lot of stuff. We made some friends, make some portraits, make some landscapes, make some street shots, some funny shots. And one of those shots was actually not meant to be the Empty Bottle series that it became. It was we worked at that time as well with a technical camera, the 4x5 inch, and because the light the light is like there
was a little bit of backlight, so it was really difficult to focus the camera. So we needed something shiny in the picture to take a sharp shot.
So we put a bottle there to sharpen it, and the picture was made with this lady who picked up the bottle. Yeah. And then it even took a week or two before we realized, this is actually, a lot of stuff comes together. I mean, if you read about China, or you want, especially as a first-time visitor, you don't want to make this big statement about the booming China, everything is going well, or the human rights China of everything is bad. But it's like a subtle kind of thing. It's poverty against the backdrop of this booming China, and you mix it in a very small way, but it says more. I think beside that, it's also the distance we have with the people. So we put the bottles there. We waited, go back to the camera. Sometimes, it was already gone before we got back to the camera.
Because what we did was
sometimes take a couple of hours. I mean, it's...
After this first picture that we had on our hotel wall for quite a bit, then we thought maybe we can do this again. So then it kind of starts as a game, like, is this how it works? So then set up a camera, place a bottle, and then wait. And then suddenly, like, or slowly, while we're working on it, all this kind of layers seep in that you kind of play with photography, like documentary photography in a way, because we are setting up the stage, but the person who's picking up the bottle has the cable release in its hand in a way, because they decide the moment of the picture.
I think this is one of those other layers that we didn't really think about that much the moment we made it, but we realized more afterwards that, especially after graduation, that a lot of our works focused on teasing photography. I mean, photography changed a lot since the last 5 to 10 years. So it's also finding a way or getting to know how it works. And we try all different jokes or different kind of ways to explore that new type of photography, and that's a layer in the work beside the booming, not booming, or the human rights.
Yeah, and also the lightheartedness actually of this project.
Yeah.
So there's lots. Yeah, and if you go from this project to your last book project, or like the last big book project, Tokyo Tokyo, can you draw some direct lines, or is Tokyo Tokyo? I mean, it's again a play with defining. It's not you. Yeah, it's you making the moment.
There's one small step in between, the one before, because the books. This is also the way of presentation contains the same kind of idea. I mean, when like the idea we had now for the fair, it's like testing a bit. We were thinking we had a beautiful printed book which we made with Koeman Herman, the designers in Utrecht, and they. We wanted to show the book as a form, like how to present it on the wall, and we framed all the pages of the book. So there are like 33 books in these frames, and it was like it became an object on itself.
And that's also how you would sell it.
Yeah, well, would love to. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean,
do you know somebody?
Well,
you know, it's a monumental kind of big way of presenting it, and I don't think that the rooms of most above your couch is just not enough space.
Yeah, because for you it's like this is the whole work. You sell it once. It's not that I can say I want to have pages 32 and 33.
No, not really. I mean, it's more like a statement thing.
But you're also not selling the prints, the photographs.
We do sell the prints. Yeah. But I mean, it's also the type of collector. This is more of the statement thing. It's more like if you see the haute couture in fashion, you put a statement on the show, which is related afterwards in a more pictures you can put above the couch or references to that statement.
Yeah. Because I also remember the project I was already jumping to, Tokyo Tokyo. I remember the exhibition that was at the Dutch Photo Museum in Rotterdam. Yeah. And that was like with gaffer tape.
That was again something that we were just trying out, I think. And
that's not how now I...
No, because it failed in a way. So,
it was not only it failed, it's more like the black tape is really heavy, but it was also a work in progress. We photographed in Tokyo in 2009 in the spring. And we were still busy with it. We were planning a next trip in 2010 at that time. And the show was like a work in progress. So how to visualize a work in progress? Well, the tape was one of these tests.
And I think what relates a lot of those things, like the show you're mentioning in Rotterdam and this fair now, is that by working together, there are a lot of things we don't take for granted, or we try to think about again.
It's like questioning things that became standards, or questioning the standard.
And by questioning the standard, maybe you could jump into briefly explain the idea or your approach in Tokyo Tokyo.
Yeah. What we did over there is very simple. We just walked the streets, both of us, photographing the same people at the same time, but from a different angle. That is the shortest way in which you can say it.
And how much is unseen, went directly to the trash, percentage-wise?
A lot. I don't know.
A lot, I think. Yeah. Might be 60-70%.
There's also quite a bit that we walk together, and then one of us describes a person, like, oh, I want to photograph that person. But if he doesn't describe that person well to me, we're walking in that direction, other people are walking this direction, I'm photographing somebody else. that I think is the person we should be photographing. So that's the first selection that happens. Like, we both need to understand and both want to be photographing that person.
It's the simplest way is if you can say in 1 or 2 words, like the lady with the yellow coat or something. I mean, you need to have this reference to each other. So I think, yeah, that's the first selection you see in the book as well. You need to be able to say it quickly because it passed through.
And one thing I'm personally interested, because I remember when it was in progress, and Tokyo was the working title, wasn't it? But there was also, because
there was
for
a
me,
different title first.
When I saw it first, it was like, it's so you're checking out the idea of the decisive moment in one person, but you're checking also out like framing the subjectivity, which is not subjective, and you also don't know this is Ruben and this is Thijs. I mean, you're leaving out these aspects. So there's a lot of...
Oh, that's the lady in the yellow coat. Yeah.
Hello, lady in the yellow coat. There's a lot of, I think, very serious matters that go about photography on a theoretical point of view. And I was wondering why the title became quite literal.
The title,
yeah.
Tokyo.
I think we are both quite allergic to pretentiousness, and not that I'm saying what you're saying is pretentious. I think it's true, but I like some more kind of humbleness in the way you approach things, and those layers they are visible for people who see them. But I don't want to like stuff it in their faces in a way. And Tokyo is just very simple. It's a description. It's a very descriptive title, and
it's just like empty bottles in a way. It's simple.
Yeah. Maybe we should now switch, because it's straightforward and quite, in Dutch you would say nuchter. You're living in London. What's
yeah, but I don't know all the words.
Okay, well, understated. I'd love to switch to one of your inspirations, because I asked them to come up with what movies or what music or literature is actually standing at the core of why you're doing what you're doing and why you laugh about phenomena in the world. So, Jonathan, can we go to the Frans Bromet movie? It's a Dutch filmmaker. I don't know him because I'm also not Dutch. I have to.
He's great. I
but
mean,
yeah, please tell why and what we see here.
Yeah. Maybe I think maybe we watch a bit first and then we talk about it.
Had het iets met de problemen met de buurman te maken, die verbouwing?
Dit is ons aangeraden, dat zouden we doen als we veilig wouden leven. Want dit is ons verboden door de recherche, en ook niet alleen door de recherche, ook door de bouwkundigen van de gemeente, hoe noemen ze dat zo gauw, de inspecteur. Die hebben ons aangeraden na 6 uur niet meer voor dat raam te komen. Wij moesten ook die volière laten staan tot de hele zaak bekoeld was, tot de uitspraak van het gerecht geweest was. Maar nu was het nog iets of wat beschut als die volière ervoor stond. Ja.
Maar nu is het na 6.
Ja?
Dus eigenlijk is het levensgevaarlijk om hier nu te staan.
Ze hebben ons aangeraden, ze hebben ons een andere woning aangeboden.
Ja, nee,
van de woningstichting.
Geef me even antwoord.
I think it's really nice for Dutch people, but maybe not so much for the English folks
it's
now.
It's good to explain a little bit. It's basically this series of his is it's called Neighbors, and he is a bit of a ironical, sadistic even filmmaker. He goes to the neighbors, they have a fight. And he goes to their side and says, what does the neighbor do wrong? And then he goes to the neighbor and says, oh, your neighbor says you're doing this and this and this. And he keeps on popping up and down. And it has a certain Dutchness in it. It's the Dutch thing, fighting about who's making the tree is too big or something and it's hanging over. It's kind of small. It's a really small topic, but the way he approaches is...
it becomes massive.
Yeah.
And besides that, it's beautiful how he asks a lot of dumb questions, and he asks a lot of questions like why, and he just keeps on asking those questions, and that's something what I think is what we like to do. Just ask a really stupid question, because
earning money with it.
Hey, yeah, well, just like him, but it's. I think sometimes you can be intimidated by people around you or by the art world or by an art fair, and then you start to believe that things need to be done in a certain way. If you show your work there, it needs to be framed on the wall, and you don't question it, but we just like to ask questions. Well, why? And does it really need to be like this? And sometimes we realize, yes, it really needs to be like this.
In his case, it's too funny because he keeps on saying, "But your neighbor said," and then he's like putting oil on the fire. He's like, it's going up and down and saying, bigger, bigger, bigger.
So to jump then.
It's too good, really. You should see the whole film. It's a whole television series.
Get this.
I don't get commission on this or something. I'm just a big fan.
No, you do it very good as a fan. So, getting from the why question to one of your little treasures you want to share, a project that you just did at the Zuidas, that it's the business district here in Amsterdam, and you were asked for that. So, what was the why or the dumb questions for that project? And it's, Jonathan, it's with the green grasses, something. So maybe you, in the slideshow.
Well, basically, we were asked to join the residency in the financial district, the Zuidas in Amsterdam. That's funny because we used to live in Amsterdam for many years, so it's kind of home, but you still come from abroad. And oh, this is another project, no?
Yeah.
Let's switch to the. It's okay. The first thing we did, actually, the first day we bought a suit. So we had this nice suit with a tie and just keep on walking around in the neighborhood. That's questioning in a way of like the way people look at you is just different than if you go in my like kind of photographer's outfit.
Normally, if I walk into a building and I look around, then the security guy comes up to me. And now, when I was walking into a building, the ladies from the reception were asking what I needed, and if I said, "Oh, just looking at the building," they came with brochures and books on the building. So it's a really different feel, and sometimes it's this different feel that makes you think in a different way and makes you see things differently and enables the work.
So it was like the why question was also about your own appearance as artists going around in this area.
Not so much as artists, but as a person, just how people respond to you, how you feel in that. Because I felt in a suit, I felt uncomfortable photographing the cleaning lady in a way.
Do we see that in the images or in the result? Basically?
Not in the result, but in the process images, because that was just a way to get to the final works. Yeah. And initially we thought, well, we're going to use that, but then you just lose a lot of things.
But I think it would be nice if you would tell something about this project, because particularly also me, I don't have yet.
You didn't see it yet.
Well, I saw it, but I know like those two sentences you tell on the with colleagues. But
at some point it felt quite restricted, this area, and then we started walking around more at night because it just felt more open and people were watching you less. And we were reading a lot about this neighborhood as well, and then we figured out that this is the most expensive soil in the Netherlands. Because of the building, the planning they have there, they calculate the prices of each bit of land. And what we started to do was we just went to all different places in the Zuidas and we dug up some soil. We brought it to our studio.
So it's
in these Albertine bags.
Yeah. And then we, what you see here is we acquired the cadastral maps. We went to speak with the people from the Zuidas who plan all those things, and
basically ask the question: how much is this worth? This piece of land.
This is 1,400 euros, but the one you saw, I think, just before was 13,000.
But like the image then also.
That's 40 euros.
Oh, but does this image also cost then 40 euros and the other one 13,000?
We said if you buy them all together, we can give you the price of all these pieces, like 13,000, 1,340.
But then there came some practicalities in it, that there are some pieces of soil that are free, and then because it's like something that we seriously considered, because it's in a way it would make sense somehow. But then if a piece is free, are you gonna charge money for just the frame or the printing of it? And then it becomes like very like a very vague or unclear thing.
And we're gonna lose a lot of money. That's basically
as well.
Yeah. Wonderful. I think we now, because we're having a time frame, let's go to one unseen thing you're now doing and what we maybe see in a while.
We just finished an assignment actually for Art Review magazine. It's a London art magazine, and
what we often like to do with commissions or with people asking us questions is doing the things we really want to do, but then making them feel that they really get what they're asking for. And sometimes that works out, and in this case, it worked out perfectly.
This was an idea we had already like 2 or 3 years ago when we presented Tokyo Book in Paris, that we walked around there, we photographed. Paris is such an iconographic city that you're like, if you go to the Eiffel Tower, there's like nothing else you can see. Well, in fact, there are situations, there are small details, there are, like this car parked in front of
So this is now Paris for a London magazine.
Well, what we did in the end was we had a small guidebook, a tour book, and we just went around the city and went to all the places in this, almost all the places in this guidebook.
You can see the next image.
And then we photographed the things that caught our attention, rather than the things that are in that guidebook. And what I like about doing this is that a guidebook is such an authoritative book. It really says like this is where you should look at, and that's how you approach it. That's what it makes you feel.
It slightly reminds me of Martin Parr's Rome guide.
Where he used the graphic design and put his pictures in that graphic design.
And besides, I think he is interested in tourists who are photographing. Well, we're not interested in the tourists who are photographing, but try to make something like that is really touristic. Try to find the really mundane things, the things that just catch your eye while you walk, the things that you find beautiful or interesting and more meaningful.
It's almost like completing the book if you call it all Paris, like they do. It's like we adjust, we make some adjustments, we add something to it, and then you can say, yeah, this is all Paris. Then you have some balance between these iconographic images.
And to finish, I think it's wonderful. To finish, I actually would want to know what are the unseen, like you seem as a very good symbiosis, even there are thousands of kilometers between you two. But where are the unseen moments where you think like, oh, why am I'm always in this artist duo, and is there this moment, or don't we?
He's not very nice to work with.
We always.
And you have too much energy, I heard.
Oh, do I?
Yeah.
Is that what you say?
Oh, yeah, you see.
Oh,
now you're doing like Frans Bromet, asking him and then pointing to me.
Maybe I should.
Well, you know what he does.
Yeah. Okay, stop. Yeah.
Okay.
Well. No, we don't really have that. Is that weird to say?
I do.
Yeah.
No, but I think within every project there is a moment of despair, of kind of not knowing what to do, and then thinking, why am I doing this? This is just a stupid idea, or this is stupid anyhow. And I think I go through, I don't know, this is maybe a bit less for you, but every project I go through a up phase, and then I like where you get the first ideas are working, and then I go for quite a deep down phase.
But often those lines are not the same. They're not at the same point. It's more. The thing is as well. We were never looking at the academy or something that I need somebody to work with. It's just it organically kind of happened. So I still don't need ties. But no, it's just the way it is, and it's so well that you know that's one of those things we maybe don't question. It's just that you think it's just all right.
I think anybody who makes work knows that some things go very well, that they're very good at it, and some things they don't. And I think
you're already having quite some years relationship, so. I mean,
yeah, so it's kind of we figured out now, and it's maybe even enlarged the things that I like to do and the things that he likes to do, and they're not totally overlapping. So with one project, one person takes the lead role, and with the other one, the other phase in the project, he does. I like, for instance, really, I can be quite indecisive, and I like to explore all options, and then I always see him looking at me.
And then I just said, now time is up. Now we need to choose the cover of the book or something. There's a deadline to this. We need to say, okay, now we need to say it.
Very good. Are there any questions from the audience of unseen parts you want to know from those lovely artists? Otherwise, I mean, you can personally go also to the stand because they're all around. But feel very much included. Somewhere is the microphone.
working together? Or
Yeah,
individually?
I must say, like the first 2 years after graduation, we physically were at one place. So we had a studio in Amsterdam, which literally every assignment, every project we did completely like together. And when from the moment we started to study in London and in Beijing, obviously you did some stuff by yourself already for the study, but it always came under this for feedback or for certain idea development or for the way you feel comfortable with each other in your work, that you need each other to have this ping-ponging over the idea.
It feels quite natural in a way that because we are not interested in the pushing of a button or the final photograph. It's more the whole context of things, and people get confused when two photographers work together because there's one camera. But for us, the camera is like only a small fraction of the things we do. And in practical terms, sometimes we do take pictures. I take some pictures in London, and he takes them over there. But then we find a form that works.
For smaller assignments, we can also imagine that we come up with a concept or an idea which we work out, and then actually I'm the one who photograph in Beijing, and he's the one in London. So that is. We both really don't really care who pushes the button. It's just the work is ours.
Any other questions? Yes.
What are you going to do next?
Haha.
Good question. Well, actually, we have a show coming up in Beijing in November, the 3rd. That's something just practically we need to prepare.
And after that is a show in foam. That's a solo show in foam that we need to do a lot of work for as well. And we're always quite last minute in a way. I don't want to be, but that's just how it turns out. So I think the coming months will be working on those two things only.
Well, thank you a lot.